1, 2, 3, 4.
In this podcast, you will be here. Knights of Vader, includes, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can't truly prepare for the joke that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, canon, love they fighted. I know that we are just musicians hired, and their time is up. So here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
A big thank you to An Insperiority Complex providing our theme song. It is June 9th, 2024. My name is Zach Weber, and I am joined by the person who looks pained to be here, Grand Admiral Zenger.
Oh, I was going to say which one of us, because that could technically describe any of us. Also, I'm just going to throw it out there. I had to put on pants for this.
I'm not paid to be here.
I'm not paid to wear pants. And Canada's premier, Acolyte toy collector, which I imagine at this point, as long as you pre-ordered the figures, you're somehow in the top 5. Chris Porteous.
Yeah, I haven't pre-ordered the Acolyte figures, but it's not because I didn't enjoy the first 2 episodes. But I still won't pre-order them though.
On principle, I won't pre-order even if I like
it.
And we have the second most pained person to be here, Joe Yazzo.
No, I'm not pained. I'm just, I'm getting my 3rd win right now, and we're getting all psyched up to. I'm psyched up to be here. We'll rewatch the Acolyte, just fresh off the last episode. Watched it 3 times. Maybe we'll get some insightful stuff here. All right, we're gonna do this. If I happen to be snoring, just take it out in post.
Okay.
Did you see Furiosa at least, Joe?
No, I didn't. So I will be useless towards the back half. So don't worry.
We'll get your opinions on the Lego talk when it comes to the latest Haslab, which will most likely dominate 9/10 of this discussion, because that's where the true controversy for Chris and I is going to come into all this. But yes, folks, we are talking about the Acolyte, the first new Disney Star Wars thingy since Ahsoka? No, Tales of the Empire. Yeah, Tales of the Empire kind of came and went. Poor Tales of the Empire, just kind of like a tumbleweed through town. It's like, and it's crossed the street. Yes, the Acolyte, it's a thing that's on the Disney Plus box. It is not abject terrible, in my opinion. It's serviceable. It's weird to think of like Star Wars this way, but I measured my excitement for Star Wars based on merchandise. I pre-ordered the Black Series figures, and after watching the initial 2 episodes, I did not regret pre-ordering them, which I think is a good thing.
Nice.
I don't regret pre-ordering them, but in the initial batch that I pre-ordered, I did not do May, and I had no urge to pre-order her, like to get my complete set. And I had no urge to buy more Star Wars merchandise after watching this, which is something that usually is my telltale sign that I'm excited. I'll get more into my specific experience with this later, but I'm absolutely dying to know, coming from the most pained person to be here, Zenger, what did you think of the energy drink, the Acolyte, presented by Disney Lucasfilm?
Well, I'm going to say this. I watched it and finished it about an hour before we recorded. If I had watched it Wednesday morning or whenever it came out, I would have been pained to remember anything about this. Aside from I was like, ooh, cool, an orange-yellow lightsaber thing.
Shocking.
It was fine. I don't want to rip this Band-Aid off so hard already, but them being like, she's a twin! I'm like, could you have just held on to that so we could have tried to solve that mystery ourselves? Would have been fun, would have been adventurous, would have been something cool to do. Instead, it's like, no, we're just going to blatantly tell you all the secrets. Ha 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 ha. So much for mysteries in space.
I can feel the pain there. It's funny. When I first watched it, I took a lot longer to for the record, I've watched both episodes twice.
How do you do that?
And
lots of free time.
Okay.
And when I watched it the second time my girlfriend was there, and like the second she woke up on the ship, like after murdering Trinity, my girlfriend was like, she just has a twin.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. my girlfriend figured it out like 20 minutes faster than me. Sad, really. But maybe that's because I expect better from them still to this day for some reason. I don't know. I expected a better reason than that they have the same haircut separated by 15 years. I don't know.
Oh, Chris, I'm glad you brought up the twin thing because I had that revelation, but in a very different manner. But let's now get to the person who has an IV of electrolyte beverages into his veins right now. Joe, tell us what you thought of the energy drink.
I was absolutely thrilled to see a plus-size Jedi.
Oh,
yeah, but they portrayed him as the comic relief and couldn't get the job done correctly.
But it's still in canon. Still in canon, plus-size Jedi. I am thrilled. I can't wait. I will actually go and pre-order his action figure when it comes out. In fact, I think I'm going to make his action figure in 3 3/4 and 6-inch, and I am going to sell it on Etsy. And you know, I'm scouring the internet right now to see if I could find a Samwell Tarly from Game of Thrones for a model for it. And I think it's going to be great. And don't know what color I'm going to make his lightsaber yet. I don't know what if he's a blue or if he's a green. I don't think he's a yellow though.
I think they revoked it from him, but it is kind of funny that he was like slightly incompetent. Like he was posted watch, and he like didn't realize that somebody like left a building or something. It's like he just stopped paying attention at some point. That's good stuff.
But I was thrilled. I was like, whoa! And I am kind of trippy. It's kind of trippy because when you sit there and you look at the title card that comes up, it's almost like you see two O's, one that has the light and one that's dark behind it, which almost symbolizes the two twins, which I thought was very, cool. I'm wondering if it's going to keep shifting over when you see them more separate, go apart from each other, which would be kind of cool to see that. But I don't think they've got that in them yet. I don't know if it's something that they're going to be, dialing into. But yeah. I'm going to be excited to see it. You're going to have to find out what happened. And one of the flashback episodes, I'm pretty sure it was in the trailer, when you see that person flinging the lightsaber around. I can't wait for that episode. It's probably going to explain a lot. And hopefully it shows, I think that's the money shot on this one here is to just see what actually happened on that day that she went into the Jedi Order and she thought that May died, or when May thought Osha died. I think that's going to be the interesting part, which I think is probably going to be they're going to do the Wookiee Jedi and all that. Then Trinity will be back in a flashback and she'll be aged. They'll use some of the Matrix clips and just put a robe on her in post. It's
digital Vaseline on the lens.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be jazzy, but it's pretty much boilerplate stuff. It's almost like watching an episode of Law and Order. I'm waiting for the dum dum. Or
no, don't say Law and Order. No. Saying Law and Order is the equivalent of getting Rob like Beetlejuice level. If you say it one more time, Rob will appear on the podcast.
But no, I'm waiting for something like that. But I'm thinking like the little pocket droid could actually like do that little doot doot and something like that. That would be kind of cool. To give it a sums, but it's a dinner murder mystery in space. So can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah. Do you think this Jedi Master Soul has a lot more in common with Qui-Gon than you might originally suspect beyond just sort of like aesthetics and cadence and stuff? It's like it's clearly he doesn't understand what it means to see someone die. Like not, like the Osha and Jedi Master Soul are both like, yeah, we definitely saw her die. It's like, I don't think you did. I think you don't know what that means. I think you are not a very good witness of events.
It's gonna be from a certain point of view thing. It's gonna be like they're gonna hand wave it away.
It's like when Rey thought Chewbacca died. Very unscientific, bad observational skills. Lost track of one freighter when there was another same one parked right there.
Exactly, just like Vader on Jabim. It's like, oh, I got them. I got these darn rebels. Let me rip this ship out of the sky. Oh, wait. There's another ship right behind it.
My power levels are drained. Oh no!
My force meter's been depleted.
They saw the Zaputa film, and that's what they saw. You know, they only saw it from one area. They didn't see it. They didn't have photos of the grassy knoll. So
but it's not a matter of. It's not a matter of who did it. It's not a matter of who did it, Joe. It's the fact that they're both like, "Yup, saw her die for sure." It's like so maybe she did die, and maybe this is like a clone or something.
No one's ever really gone, Chris. No one's ever really gone.
Okay, I'm going to say this now just so it's on record. When it turns out that this is why we get Sith Lords later is because 4 Jedi decided to make a pact with each other not to talk about how they killed that kid.
It's like
the dumbest thing ever.
I know what you did last summer. Star Wars.
Is it so far gone from that we can do it, but with Star Wars now? Because that's what this is.
The guy's gonna have a fish hook.
Gonna turn into, and one of them's gonna go train some weird kid from Naboo, and next thing we know, we got Palps. It's awful.
Yeah, that scene with the green lady and Master Soul, where they're it's like a couple of bishops.
Come on, Chris, Vernestra, the only character from like these like 800 books that made it into the show.
Sure.
No, Yoda's not in there yet. I know he's shocked.
Give it time. He's the post-credit scene, Zenger. Come on, don't give it away.
God, I was waiting for it every time.
She seems kind of shady though.
They all do.
Well, she's
murdered people.
Yeah, well, dude, that's what I was getting to. Literally, it's like they're just like just like the church trying to cover up stuff, man. It's not good. That's all that's going on there. They're like, if the news gets word that like this is one of our guys,
don't be surprised if that's the angle they take. It takes like a weird spotlight approach, where it's like, don't be surprised if there's a journalist character in this. Don't be shocked.
If it's not if it's not Jexter Dexter, I will be ashamed.
He's like 100 years, like hundreds of years old, so I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, exactly. Have him with one of them newsboy hats.
Working
Still pulling up his pants with his extra hands.
Yeah. He's a HoloNet reporter.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so like here's my because everything I do Star Wars related cannot be straightforward. Everything's a process.
Oh god.
And like I promised Joe Yazzo, there will be stories. So I got tickets, much like I mentioned in last week's maybe episode, to go see this in a theater. I took the train down to New York City. Like showing wasn't until 7:00, but it was first come, first serve, no reserve seating. Felt weirdly refreshing, the idea of having to wait online for something in order to like get a good seat. Forgot how good that feeling is. I got to the theater around noon and did a walk by. There was 2 goobers in Ahsoka outfits, not outfits, but like the color scheme. And I'm telling my girlfriend, I'm just like I basically did like the Maggie with the baby with the unibrow. I'm just like squinting my eyes. I'm just like, But I was wearing an Obi-Wan Kenobi shirt, so I kind of gave myself away at the same time. So every hour we do a walk by to make sure that like there weren't any more people queuing up. By 3 p.m., which seems to be the weird bewitching hour for like people waiting online for a Star Wars, because that's what happened with Last Jedi, Solo, Rogue One, Force Awakens, even in Po Town, New York. That always seems to be the weird bewitching hour. So starting at 3:00, people started lining up. So we were the 5th and 6th people online. The 2, not the original goobers that were dressed as Ahsoka, but the 2 that were in front of us. Were like the one guy was like they were practically kids. Like if they were like elder teenagers, they were old. One of the guys had never really delved into the High Republic. The other one had read a bunch of the Phase 1 books, so he knew a decent amount about the lore. Like he knew who Vernestra was. Like he was explaining to me all the stuff that was like happening during Phase 1, like the ship. Like apparently the ships have like pretty much to use the ships, you have to like plug your lightsaber into it. Again, giving it more context, which I never knew. Explain to me like
I remember that.
I did not know that. Phase 2, what Phase 2 was. Phase 2 is a prequel to Phase 1. Like all these things that kind of give me a decent level of context going into this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And basically explain the entire like character of Vernestra to me, like being like, oh, this was like a prodigy Jedi, pretty much what like, imagine if Anakin got exactly what he wanted. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, this is okay. Like you're getting me on board for all this. And so like eventually probably around, oh God, like the AMC movie theaters, like, they made us wait online outside New York City, which is great. Like you get to watch like the weirdos, which is always fun of New York. And so like the AMC people kept coming outside like once every like 20 minutes to make sure like, oh, like you people aren't like creating a riot. And people kept stopping us too. Like, what are you waiting online for? What are you waiting online for? It's like Star Wars. There's a new movie. And that's just from like like it had to have happened at least like maybe like every 15 minutes, someone would stop and be like, what are you waiting online for? And like when we explained what it was, like, oh, so it's a new movie. So like they're like from the general filthy casual, there is a level of interest in Star Wars. And this is like, oh, there's a new movie, which was interesting. Around probably 5:30, a Lucasfilm or Disney person showed up, and they're like and gave out physical tickets, which was neat. And they're like, hang on to these. Like, these aren't just simply for show. Like, you're going to need these. And she had a physical, and Chris is going to love this, a physical clicker, like counting each ticket she gave out. That was fascinating. We get let in, and they had posters, free popcorn, free drinks. They very much treated this like almost like a press screening, but for normies. But prior to that, and this is the part, like I kept telling my girlfriend, this is where I wish Chris were here, because Chris is the person that would be the most fascinated just by like what Lucasfilm / Disney thinks are VIPs. So while we're waiting online, there's like people walking in dressed up, like definition of weekend warrior cosplayers. But like there was like two guys and about like 6 women. And one guy was dressed as Kanan, like pretty good Kanan cosplay. Like, yeah. Oh, like I said, this was definition of a Chris fodder. Like Chris would eat this up, like in a bad way. Like he would be angry. But the women, well, and this is
even the 2 kids dressed up as Ahsoka. It's like, yeah, fake fans. What are you guys even doing here?
They were really committed. Like everything matched. Like they had backpacks, they had hats, they had shirts. Like it matched, man. Like they put effort into this. And I'm just sitting there wearing my Obi-Wan Kenobi t-shirt. I did not wear the liquid blue t-shirt, Chris. Couldn't tip your hand that hard.
Well, no one would have appreciated it. It's an Acolyte day one. Like no one would even know what you're talking. Like what's going on there.
On the streets of New York City wearing a liquid blue t-shirt. But so like and this is like, I don't know, Chris, does this make it into the recording? Chris said, I have opinions that I don't think are controversial, but if I say them, someone will definitely take it the wrong way. What I'm about to say is definitely that. There right. of the 6 women that were there in the same vein as the Kanan cosplayer, they were all dressed up as basically dominatrixes. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. They were
yay.
Shock T lives.
Well, no. I wish sexy Shock T or Darth Talon were in the vein of these outfits, but I mean, like, this was a definition of like, imagine a poor man's version of a Hellraiser costume.
Yay! And you're not talking me out of this. And
they all had like definition of like Facebook ad, Instagram ad lightsabers. And like, so we like, and they're being allowed into like the theater before the rest of us are. And I'm like,
so do you just mean like those like unlicensed like dueling sabers, or like what is it?
Yes. Definition of Facebook ad like lightsabers. And I'm just like, and for the record, for the audience at home, this would have hooked Chris. I'm glad this hooked Chris's curiosity, because it would have in real life, like it would have bothered him. So like anyway though, so like this is the AMC Empire 25 for anybody who knows Northeast. So like it's on like the 3rd or 4th floor of like the building. And so like once we get allowed in, we're up there. They had, like I said, like they treated this like a press screen. Like they had like this cute little like, not banner's not the right word, but like, again, meant to take pictures, social media fodder, whatever. And while we're getting up there, keep in mind, I'm in the first batch that's allowed in. So nobody's there before us. And you have all these influencers, Kanan plus the dominatrix squad. They're all taking pictures in front of this like moniker or whatever you want to call it, staging area. And it's just like, okay. And so there was security there. They're like, don't record. Like, they didn't take cell phones or anything, but like, they're like, okay, here's your popcorn. Here's your empty drink cup. Like, go do what you want. And it's just like, okay, like, what theater are we going into? Oh, you're going into the Dolby theater. I'm like, heck yeah, man. So like, of course, while all the goobers are getting their popcorn and soda cups, I just beeline into the theater. I was the second person into the theater so I could get a quote good seat. And so like, as I'm walking in, pretty much 2 rows, not even like good seating, but 2 rows are blocked off for VIPs. And I'm like, of course it's gonna be the goobers. It's gonna be the Kanan goober plus the dominatrixes. And lo and behold, it was for them once they went into the theater. And like I said, like, it was just weird. It's like, again, like, and nobody took pictures with them because they were like, outside of Kanan, nobody was dressed up as a Star Wars character. Like, I cannot overemphasize, these 6 women were not dressed up as like sexy Shakti, Darth Talon, there wasn't even a single Rey. Like, you'd think there'd be a Rey just like obligatory there for just Disney Star Wars nonsense. No. Dominatrixes in poor man's Hellraiser. Cool. And so like, that was strange. Like, that was just very, very, very strange. So like, while we're like, at this point, like, it's maybe around like 6:30. There were people going up and down the rows being like, oh, we have people with night vision goggles. Like, don't try to like record any of this, blah, blah, blah. What you'd expect. But there was one cosplayer who was not sanctioned who was there. He was dressed up as a Death Watch Mandalorian. And like, I mean, his costume was great. I loved it. Like, it was extremely detailed, except going back to the Facebook, like, Instagram lightsabers, he had, and I don't know if it was like it was so good cosplay, but what he had was, he didn't have a lightsaber. He had like a laser sword you would get from like a KB Toys. And I'm like, is this like, and I'm watching this, like, he literally, I'm not kidding you, he had a speaker box and a mic, so if he talked, it would like modulate his voice. Like, it was great cosplay with a literal laser sword. And I'm just like I'm losing my mind. I'm just like, this is like is this guy really playing into this Star Wars lore if he has a physical laser sword, like as our Lord and Savior Jorge would want us to?
I have a conspiracy theory about him.
He was great. Like, he was like, because he took his helmet off. Like, nobody questioned him. No security went up to him. After this thing was over, I went up to him and I'm like, I told him like he did a great job. Like, he did. Laser sword. Great moment. So no, like, thing begins at 7:00. It was fun seeing it in Dolby. Overall thoughts on the Acolyte. Like I said, it's fine. Like, there really was like, not from these 2 episodes, not a single moment got a cheer moment from the audience. The biggest cheer moment in the entire thing was when Kielbasa Jedi, when his credit comes up, what's his name? Jornos Zudatuno. I sorry for butchering his name. When his name came up, that got the biggest clap of the audience. Like, from both things, just seeing him in the credits. Yeah. Other than that, it's like, I'm intrigued. I'm not like, again, I don't regret my pre-order. I'm curious to see where this goes. Like, I was telling the group chat, telling Chris, like, John Justice texted me that night and he's just like, what was it like? I'm like, it's very Attack of the Clones. It's very sequel trilogy. I think it's clunky. There's things about it that's just like, oh, like, we're doing this. Like, it's funny to think the most interesting thing that I've found from all this is the internet fandom's perspective of it. Not the people who are calling it the woke-alite, but like the shill fandom that has to like everything. I love the fact that we've gone from, now that like there's no new Star Wars movies in 5 years, we've gone from, quote, this is the best thing since Empire Strikes Back, to, quote, this is the best thing since Andor. I love how the fandom, just the shill fandom, has completely just shifted from a film level of patronizing like their audience to TV level. This is the best show since Andor. And it's like, how many shows have we had since Andor? 1?
First of all, Zach, Andor is the only show that the shills are licensed to not enjoy. So I don't even know which ones are saying that, because the real shills are allowed to dislike Andor.
Really?
Because it's good. So they're allowed to be like, meh. It
The
didn't
real
really
shows have
like.
to say the Book of Boba Fett's the best show.
They have to say Ahsoka's the best show, but it's not. It's like they're sort of allowed to hate Andor because it was like good and like thoughtful and interesting. So they don't have to be on board with it. But it kind of is. I mean, it kind of is the act. I think it's probably the best thing since Andor, right? But that's not saying much, of course. But like, it's definitely better than Mando season 3, Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi. It's definitely better than Tales of the Empire.
Okay, well, this is what I want to ask, because like I walked out of this thing, and again, like it's clearly building towards something, so it's not fair to judge it at this current juncture as a complete project. But as a Star Wars fan, the thing I found the most interesting, and going back to the whole Osha May twin thing, as I'm sitting there waiting for this showing to begin, I'm looking at the poster they gave us, and I'm like, why is there 2 pictures of May on this poster? Now I slowly had the realization as I'm staring at the poster as the light bulb starts to like flicker on above my head. And I'm like, oh, they're going to go for like a weird, like good and bad version of the character. Like it's either going to be like she has some form of like bipolar disorder or she's a twin. But I'm like, they wouldn't do the sibling thing again in Star Wars, would they? And like I said, that didn't bother me. It's weird as a Star Wars fan to go into something and be like, I have very little context as to what to expect. Like even with The Force Awakens, like we knew enough going into like, forget about the marketing, but just like, oh, we knew the Imperial remnant. Like we there's just certain things osmosis wise that they can never deviate from just within the certain time frame that they're making content for. This was refreshing going into that sense. I like the idea they have their regal robes, the Jedi, versus their like mission robes. The whole idea of having like Janet Leigh, Carrie-Anne Moss, despite the fact that she's going to show up as flashbacks, I think is very just like we've been there, done that. Like, oh, Carrie-Anne Moss is dead, nobody's safe. It's like, who cares? Like, again, like if you want to do that, go hire a contemporary actress that's super popular. Go hire Zendaya. Go, like, bear with me, Chris. Go hire Florence Pugh. Hire somebody who actually is important by today's standards, not like an actress that has not had any sort of major cultural relevance in 20 years. Again, love Carrie-Anne Moss, nothing against her, but it's roll your eye level worthy. And it's just like, oh, okay, they think they're being cute. And that's the problem with Lucasfilm right now, is that everything is, oh, we're trying to be cute and be like, it's constant. It's the Monty Python wink, wink, nudge, nudge bit.
Okay, fair enough. And I think it's like I've been saying for a while, when they let the real world bleed into their scripts, it's annoying. It's like Carrie-Anne Moss, like they literally have like Matrix music cues in this when Carrie-Anne Moss is fighting and like doing like choreography right out of the Matrix, although I think it's Neo's choreography at parts.
Well,
but
she's
like
listed on the like thing as where did it say it? Force Fu fighting Jedi.
Well, it's like when they,
I hate it.
It's like when they made Gina Carano like have an MMA fight in character, and like when they made Ahmed Best.
That's fine.
And when they made Ahmed Best a flawless Jedi because he deserves it,
that's fine,
I guess. Like, I don't know.
Why are you bringing up perfectly logical arguments that are instantly disproven?
But you know what I mean? But I don't know. I thought the way that fight ended was like kind of interesting. Like how she went to kill the bartender and like, she slipped. It wasn't bad the way they ended that fight. It amused me. Really, you didn't like that?
She should have killed the bartender too. See, these Sith are too soft these days. Back in my day, they would have chokeslammed somebody through a table.
But she meant to kill the bartender, but Trinity stopped the razor blade.
No, she needs at the end when she sees like he has like a kid.
Yeah,
sure,
death.
But she was gonna kill him before she knew about the kid, without a second thought.
Well,
Anyway.
no, but that's the thing though, is that like it's again, like I have nothing against this show, but like that whole part is like, oh, May's able to kill Carrie-Anne Moss because it's a cheap shot. It's like, oh, she momentarily distracts her. She's not able to best her one-on-one. So again, cheap shot. I have no problem with that. I have a problem more if again, Carrie-Anne Moss is stunt casting for this. And it's just like, again, you're appealing weirdly to like Chris Zenger and I in that. It's like, oh, you've got Carrie-Anne Moss. Like, and that's the thing. It's just like, oh, okay. And I should say that going back to the Phantom Menace, like Acolyte preview, much like Andor and Rogue One, they did butcher this thing in editing. From the preview to the actual footage, I get like, obviously you don't want to show her dying in the preview footage. I don't know why they just can't let the entire scene play out except for like the whole thing, because they butchered the action sequence again. Like, just play the whole clip for like 3.5 minutes instead of like 45 seconds. Like, again, in my excitement for Lucasfilm marketing, I realized just how terrible Lucasfilm marketing actually is.
You didn't get 3 episodes, did you?
No, just
okay.
I got what you got. I'm in the same boat as you guys, just a day early and in a nicer presentation.
Okay. What did you think of like the way, and I guess I hope there's more to this, but like the way Osha gets these like visions of May where she's like a kid but communicating like current relevant information. You know what I mean? Like it's like
the Force.
Does the Force work like that? And
Sure.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal in episode 8 when they had like their Skype calls. You know what I mean? Like, like this is much more advanced than that. And am I crazy, or like when she first saw the vision of her sister as a kid and they both turned into kids, they were not played by the same kid, even though they're supposed to be twins?
You're not the only person to pick up on that.
What the heck is that when they're the same actor when they're adults? Just use the same kid. Like, what is that?
It was someone's daughter.
It's one of the producers' like nieces.
That is so pointlessly annoying. But anyways, it's like they do not look like the same kid at all. But anyways, it's because they're not, and that's a weird choice. And they're deliberately stated to be twins. But anyways, all right, there's something weird going on. Like May actually died or something, because you have child force projection May telling Osha that she did kill these Jedi. But then you have Osha later being surprised to learn that. I mean, you have May later being surprised to learn that Osha's still alive. So like whatever communicated to Osha, that little kid, is not May, because she was later surprised to learn that she was there.
Well, isn't it supposed to be more of like a vision? Is like initially it's supposed to be presented to us like, oh, like she's imagining her sister,
but it does,
like it's like almost a glorified hallucination.
But is that like a new thing? Because like what's the previous? Is there a previous example of that?
To the audience, it's meant to be like, I think to the audience, it's supposed to be presented as like a weird hallucination until the revelation's presented to us. Then like, no, it could be like, there's the argument that whoever the like bad guy goober is with like the helmet is maybe doing this. Again, that's just speculation. Clearly the fact that they're being brought back together now is either part of the plan, or it's, oh, like this is being intentionally being done, or some passive way of undermining the bad guy's plan for all this. Like the whole point of this entire series is to like, it's the beginning of the rot that destroys the Jedi Order. That's the whole, it's the beginning of the end.
Because 4 Jedis decide to murder somebody and then try to cover it up.
Yeah, well, we saw what happened when Luke debated murdering a Padawan who looked like he was up to no good. But it never goes well.
Talk to Anakin. See, his child murder went just swell.
Well, I mean, that child murder was not directly responsible for the bad things that happened to Anakin in the subsequent day.
He already made all his terrible decisions. That was just the aftermath of it. But yeah. No, so like, okay, so like going into this, like with all the different characters, like I kind of like, from what I was reading online, like Soul was like, oh, I kept hearing like, oh, Soul is like, he's going to be like what Qui-Gon is for like the next generation of Star Wars fans. Like he's going to sit there, give perspective. Like he's going to be this like level of just like, he's the true balance of the Force. In watching this, like, as I watched the first episode, I'm like, he seems almost, again, like he's too passive of a character. He's just kind of following the motions that the plot's taking him on. But I will say that like during his fight with May toward the end of episode 2, I'm like, okay, like, and then like the whole thing too, like it's still very contrived, but just like, oh, he completely like disarms her with all of her blades. I'm like, oh, like again, I was coming around to it. Like definition of coming around to it. I'm like, okay, like you're slowly winning me over with these characters. But prior to that, like it had the same problem. Like forget about the Phantom Menace, but it had the same problem of Attack of the Clones. Like if it weren't for the fact that we're all familiar with like Ewan McDonald, it felt like, oh, when we first introduced the Hayden Christensen in Attack of the Clones, like even though like, oh, you're telling me this is Anakin. Oh, you're telling me that Soul. You're telling me that Jackie and Yord, or oh, they're all these important characters. And it's just like, you're telling me they're important as opposed to they are actually important. Like you're not giving me that, like, it's the same reason why I think people had a hard time relating to Padme and Anakin in the prequels. It feels like we're going down the same rabbit hole. Maybe this is the weird brilliance of the prequels. Then they're trying to kind of not engineer it, but just do the same thing again. As we're like, oh, with repeat viewings, you'll just love these characters by just their quirky behavior as opposed to proper storytelling.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I'm loving about it. And I mean, there's I saw this story going around that I think his name is Lee Jung Jae, who plays Soul, and I saw a story saying that he learned English for this role, and I'm like,
I read that too.
That's impressive, but is that really the kind of press you want? It's like, how great is your cadence and delivery like 5 minutes after you learned English when you're trying to convey ideas on screen? Like, it's sort of like if he's just as good as anybody else, it's sort of insulting to acting. If he just learned English 5 seconds ago,
acting. It's acting.
Well, yeah, but if he doesn't even know what he's saying, you know what I mean? Like he knows what how do you play a character if you barely know what you're saying as in that character's role? I don't know how I feel about that.
In their defense, like I get where you're coming from, Chris, but I think there's also a level of energy that an actor brings to a performance. Just again, there's just a level of just, oh, like that.
I don't mind him. I just find that story like kind of silly because it's like that's not a plus.
It's no different than like the actor that played Baze Malbus in Rogue One. Like he didn't know what Star Wars was until he was reading for the character.
Sure, but it's not it's not good. It's like, yeah, there's plenty of examples of beloved actors who barely get by doing English through a movie. Like Jackie Chan has been doing it for a million years. Everybody loves him, even though he didn't know what he was saying for his first 20 films. But it's just like, it's a weird thing to be like, isn't that amazing? It's like, I guess he could have just had someone phonetically read it to him right before he did the line. It would be about the same result as speaking English for a week.
I don't, like I said, that doesn't bother me.
Should have had a translator droid. That's what he should have had.
But yeah, I've been enjoying his character, but I don't. Like you were saying, Zach, he's a little more passive to what's going on and not making active decisions compared to Qui-Gon. Every time the council tells him to do something, he listens to it. Qui-Gon's like, well, actually, I'll just risk being kicked out of the order like 5 times a week. That's what Qui-Gon does. But yeah.
But okay, so like again, Soul, I feel like it's going to be interesting to see where his character goes, because clearly he was part of this cabal that led to like the whole May Osha thing unfolding. So it's going to be interesting to see like, oh, what's it like for a character that's Qui-Gon-esque to be tangled up in something like this? Like that's again, like it's provocative. Like that's where I give it credit being in the dark right now. But going to like even the second Jedi character who's like sitting in a force bubble and she tries like punching the air and like it does nothing. And then like you have the character whose name I can't pronounce that like gives May the poison. Like that, I'm just kind of like, that feels like very Lucas-esque. It's just like, weirdly, this feels like Lucas would have made it. Like it's like, oh, like May goes to this weird like oh god, what's the word for it? Somebody who makes potions, and it's like, oh, but
they literally said apothecary. That might be a first time in canon.
Okay. Yeah. And so like, Master said we can't use weapons. Like, oh, but try this. I won't tell Master. And she goes up to King Joffrey, and is like in like old man makeup, and is like, oh, I know you did bad things, King Joffrey. You should drink this to like find salvation. He like wakes up after like a decade in a coma, and he's just like glug 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 glug. And it's just like, it comes across like so contrived. And I'm just like, but like, you almost have to respect how clunky it is, that like they've learned nothing on storytelling since like the Rise of Skywalker. Like as much as we laugh at Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, and yes, Kenobi does have the moment of like trench coat Leia. It doesn't have something that's that moment. Just like exposition, just dialogue punch you in the face. And I'm just like, it's so contrived, and like you almost have to respect the fact they're just it's means to an end. It's efficient storytelling to a fault that Lucas would have 100% would have done.
I don't think it's King Joffrey, but it's one of those other kids. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where you could actually see the people that were really involved in this plot that they're going to probably show you in the later episodes, because this guy has a lot of things that he did, and he was probably the mastermind to it, because he's having regret, and that's why he didn't talk to anybody for 10 years. Like although he knows what's going on, he apologized. He knew that she was still alive. Same thing with, I think, the Wookiee, because the Wookiee is an exile on a planet. He's by himself.
Yeah, but this guy didn't feel like talking to her the day before. But the second day, he was like, yeah, I'll snap out of it.
Well, she gave him an out. Here, you can either go to the Jedi Council and tell them what you did, or you could drink this and it's my absolution. I'll forgive you.
Yeah.
And here you go. Take the poison.
Although, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a game-breaking force power. Like, if I just hover here cross-legged, you just can't do anything to me no matter what. You could bulldoze this whole building, and I'm not going to move. But... but it is directly from some video games, so you know, it's not new, at least.
Was it battle meditation or?
Well, I don't know, but when you fight when you fight one of the first Inquisitors, Jarek, at the end of Dark Forces 2, every time you damage him like 1/3, he runs away from you and hovers cross-legged like that and recharges in an invincible status. And it's pretty funny. Of course.
This vow that he takes was introduced in the Vader comic.
Okay.
It's canon.
That's why they remastered Dark Forces, to go along with the Acolyte.
No, it's Dark Forces 2. Yeah, they're not going to remaster Dark Forces 2.
I am beyond upset the Wookiee still does not speak like basic. It would have been great if he just started speaking basic immediately. Nobody else? Just me?
I don't think they're physically capable of doing that, Zenger. That's the whole point.
Would have been great. 10 out of 10 for the show.
Yeah, he could have a translator droid that like a Microsoft Sam, like a Stephen Hawking droid. That'd be a fun add-on to a Wookiee. Yeah.
Just saying, Zack, it would have made my day if it was just like, it's just, oh, so that's a choice by Chewbacca. Got it.
Zenger, did you notice the first live action Cellcath?
There was what? Wait,
do you know what a Cellcath is?
No.
Do you remember Knights of the Old Republic?
No.
Okay. Nobody does.
I should say that he wasn't King Joffrey, Torben. He was Martin Lannister in Game of Thrones. Excuse me.
Sure. Yeah, the other kid.
That's what I mean.
The kid who wasn't like the worst person on earth. Yeah. All right.
Still in old man makeup. Which is
he's like
funny as hell.
Yeah, he looks like he's got like a like Abraham Lincoln look going on, like an Amish beard, and like he's balding. I don't know what they were thinking with that look. He looks really young, but also like his hair is like old Amish guy.
But like that's even something that Lucas wouldn't have done. Like put a child in old man makeup. Like that's funny. Like you have to wonder,
Yeah.
like these people making like we have to wonder now. Like, do we reevaluate Kenobi and be like, oh, instead of Deborah Chow is incompetent, maybe much like Lucas, she has deep contempt for Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Like
not.
maybe we should be looking at this way. Lucasfilm hires these creatives not for their adoration of the film saga, but how much they dislike it.
Well,
You hate Star Wars, you got the job. That's how
I don't
Tony
think
Goyer became like the king of the hill.
I wouldn't be surprised if Deborah Chow had some like resentment about like, this is what you guys are offering me. And not that she hates Star Wars, but it's just like, I'd really like to do something, for adults that has drama and interesting ideas. And you got me this script with a girl hiding under a trench coat. And, maybe that would create that sort of attitude where you mail it in, but I can't see it. I don't know.
Can we just real quick, not to go like this is just a baby tangent. The fact that like, I remember like in the wake of Mandalorian season 2 finale, like Fat Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, whatever. Like the idea of like Robert Rodriguez being involved with a Star Wars project was like a major headline in 2020. And he's weirdly like the man is like beyond Star Wars, just Teflon. And nobody really talks about the fact that like he at the time in 2020 was touted as like, oh, Robert Rodriguez is making a Star Wars TV show. And then like we all laugh at Book of Boba Fett now, but it has not stuck to him at all as a creative. And that's kind of fascinating. Like he's not in any sort of director's jail, despite the fact that like he was touted as just being his Star Wars.
I think it's because that one episode of The Mandalorian that he did was actually good, and that's all anyone really remembers from like old man Tamir Morrison coming back. Because the Book of Boba Fett is like 3 hours of Boba Fett like sitting around Jabba's palace. It's like there's not really a whole lot that happens in it. So like his one episode where he shows up and saves the Mandalorian and Grogu is like way more impactful than that whole series.
But
and
still,
Robert Rodriguez directed that. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I agree. But no, this weird tangent. But no, like getting back to the electrolyte is just yeah, I know. I don't know. Like it's not much you can do with this word, unfortunately. Okay, so like this is the thing. It's like I know like maybe one of you had heard it, but like going into like the press tour for this, the actor who plays Yord, like I know at some point, like and again, he's some poor actor, like we shouldn't judge him, but like he's like, oh, like when Anakin blows up the Death Star, and then like 5 minutes later he says it again, interviewed in like the hate mob of the internet's like, he's a bad Star Wars fan. He doesn't even know that like Luke blew up the Death Star. Yeah. And so like going into this, like I'm like, I knew that, but like again, I don't blame an actor for not knowing the lore. It's not their responsibility. Like again, like is it a little clunky not to know that? Sure, but like whatever, who cares?
He could have just misspoke.
He comes across in all these interviews as just a very arrogant individual. And then watching the actual like show and you see him and like it's like the actor playing the character. Like it feels like a weird version of like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like the character's pompous, overcompensating, arrogant, undeserved sense of accomplishment. And I'm like, is this kind of like weirdly brilliant again? Like, is this Lucasfilm backing into brilliance with casting? Like, and then like he kind of comes across as like a perpetual buffoon, like a minor buffoon, not like tripping over himself and like slipping on a banana peel. But like the fact that they're making that character again is like, as I judged characters in Star Wars, and this is because this is how I was raised, every character that gets an action figure, I put a lot of weight on. And the fact that like, oh, he's getting like action figures on, I think in both scales, Chris? I know Soul's getting an action figure in both scales. I know he's definitely getting a 6-inch figure and a Funko Pop. Like, and like, he doesn't do anything in any of these, like, other than just kind of be a stick in the mud.
it means something to get a figure now. It didn't always mean something to get a figure. But yeah, but here's the thing, right? Here's the truly offensive thing about him thinking that Anakin blew up the Death Star. It's not, you're right. I don't care that he doesn't know the lore. He's like some Gen Z who's like, he's not even the person wearing the Ahsoka cosplay to the screening. He's like 10 levels below that, right? He doesn't even know, he barely knows what Star Wars is, and that's fine. He's some Gen Z guy, whatever. But like, he's parroting the like rebellion, empire, moral equivalency, idiotic talking points about how, is Luke really a bad guy or like a terrorist or something because he blew up the Death Star? It's like he just heard some idiot talking about how Luke...
He watched a YouTube video 5 minutes before the interview.
It's like, Luke's a bad person for blowing up the Death Star. It's like, sure, bro. Carry on missing the whole point of Star Wars. That's great. I'm so glad you're involved. It's like, it's not verbally slipping and saying Anakin. It's like parroting the talking points of the dumbest among Star Wars fans. That's the problem with it. He heard somebody riffing on a scene from Clerks, and he just like crapped it. He just crapped it back out badly. And he's never seen Clerks, and he doesn't know what they were referencing. But he's just, I heard something about the Death Star, so I'm just gonna say, isn't it bad that they blew up the Death Star? No, it was a great idea to blow up the Death Star. It's who even knows? Maybe the Empire wouldn't have been defeated in like 3 years if they didn't blow up the Death Star. You know, like just short-term thinkers thinking it was a bad thing to blow up the Death Star. But anyways, yeah, I don't mind him for not knowing that and who did that, and I find him quite tolerable on the show. It's just, I would never ask his opinion on anything as an actor. Why would you?
No, like I said, like, okay. So like I did, like I said, like neat character, but like I don't know what that character contributes unless that's gonna be your character that kind of comes to the quote light of like, oh, like I see through the lies of the Jedi. Like that's the character that very much buys into the pomp and circumstance, and then by the end realizes, oh, it's all a charade. And then you have the character like Jecki, who's clearly meant to be your like young badass Jedi, which I presume if I had to guess, there's going to be a fan favorite character come out of this, it's going to be her. Just simply because they cast Daphne Keane going back to X-23 and Logan. She's neat enough as a character. I have not seen enough to get me genuinely excited. Like I said, like there's no standout in any of this. Like was said earlier, this feels very like a crime procedural as opposed to pulpy Star Wars. Again, which is a good thing. Like Star Wars can't always just be all the boring parts cut out. Let's just string these moments together. But there wasn't anybody who I was excited for. Like, again, going back, it reminds me of like Red Letter Media Phantom Menace review level. It's like, who's our protagonist? Who
right.
Are we supposed to be rooting for? Who is our hero?
You know
Osha,
what?
I guess.
You know what I like, we've been ripping on it a little bit, but like what I really did like about it is the handling of like the establishing shots and like I hate to use the phrase world building, but it's like even in Andor when you see Coruscant, like they infused a lot of practical locations that were just like brutalist concrete structures, and they're like, we'll paint some spaceships flying by or whatever. Like, you know, they like the establishing shots of Coruscant and the Jedi Temple, like I feel it, to me it feels the closest they've come to like the quality of work that's in the prequels, like and it's like, and I know you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic, Zack, but like there's a lot of there's sound effects that I'm convinced are taken like right out of Knights of the Old Republic, and a lot of the music cues, like first of all you have like direct John Williams lifts from like Attack of the Clones and stuff, but you also have like there's scenes take the music right from Knights of the Old Republic, like very similar. Some of like the Jedi training music that you have on Dantooine, there's a lot of stuff very similar to that. And like just the scene when they're on the outside of the spaceship, there's like doing the repair, there's a similar mission in Knights of the Old Republic, and the sound effects of like the spacesuit like walking on the hull is like, I swear it's identically ripped from that game. And it's just like, and like I was mentioning to Zenger earlier, that there was a first live action appearance of a alien species from KOTOR, it's one of the more like standout designs from that game. It's called a Selkath. It's like a manatee person.
Oh yeah.
There's one like operating a desk at the Jedi Temple, I think it was, somewhere on Coruscant, and it was just like, it's cool to see them sort of, even though it's only 100 years before the Phantom Menace, they're doing a few aesthetic references to the Old Republic, which it's just on the scale of time, it's like basically the day before episode 1 compared to KOTOR, even though it's like 80 years or something. But I did like, just, it felt like the world felt like well established and full, and like when you see the sets and like the background characters and the establishing shots, they didn't feel cheap. That doesn't make up for like a paper thin story and like weird inconsistencies and stuff, but it felt like the establishing stuff was given the due respect in a way that the last couple shows, it didn't seem quite there.
I was put back by, especially when they went on the Trade Federation ship, and he was almost like going to be choking him, and the other Trade Federation person was like, whoa, she's in subsection B, she's there.
He was going to use a mind trick, probably not choke him, because, that'd be quite. But I mean, even so, it's like, how do these consent laws work with the Jedi Knights? They're allowed to just roll up and start mind tricking like anyone they want to.
Yeah, like he was reading people's minds like crazy. Saul was reading her mind. Like, I would sit there and probe your mind, but you don't even know what he looks like.
Yeah, like, don't you need a warrant to do read a guy's mind?
Man. It's
this
like
really is Law and Order,
like
isn't it?
blatant, like just going through and roughing people up like that. It's like, good God.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
and
they're high on the hog there.
Yeah, and you gotta just point out that they were very afraid to recreate Neimoidian voices the same as they are in the Phantom Menace. It's like there was nothing wrong with it in the Phantom Menace. We're just never doing anything like it again.
And there's a female one now.
There've been female ones.
There is in Phantom Menace. Yeah.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, well, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
But like, okay, getting back to a point Chris made is that like, I got like from the May Soul fight, it felt like Kenobi again to me. Like when Vader's like walking down like the little street, and you have like the Inquisitors behind him, and he's like breaking the necks of children. It felt like this felt TV to me, not as egregious as like Vader like sitting on like a little throne like in the middle of Mustafar. Yeah. This felt again like not terrible, but it feels TV. It just does.
The Trinity fight is better than any of the Vader Kenobi duels. Like they're like the fact that there's like a set where you can actually tell where you are, and there's like 2 levels, and there's actual like physical reference points rather than a pile of gravel.
But we shouldn't be treating Kenobi as a benchmark by any means. Like Kenobi is the definition of just like, oh please make it stop. Like it's serviceable at absolute best.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying like even the choreography in that first fight, like with the table getting kicked over into the guy, and like just the play with the two levels is already like, it's already like, oh, thank you guys for actually treating this like it's a real job, unlike you did with Kenobi.
Well, again, but like this feels like giving credit for like the bare minimum. Like it felt like it feels like the same like restaurant, where you want to call it, that like the Mandalorian finds Cara Dune. Like it felt like the exact same spot.
It's better than that.
No, it's not. It's the same thing. It's like it's the weird rut that Star Wars always leans into of like there has to be a bar in it.
Dude, the restaurant where the Mandalorian found Cara Dune was like the exact same shape as the volume. It's like,
well, yeah, but like,
here's
sure,
a flat circle that we're sitting in. We're sitting in this flat circle that has projection walls, that has no geography or architecture to it.
And how is this any different than that?
because
it might be slightly better, but it's no different as an Ultimate thing.
Because they actually use physical details
Real
of the
sets,
building.
practical effects.
No, they it's not even that it's real. It's that the characters actually interact with the set, unlike a lot of that volume stuff.
The fact they kicked over a chair and she climbed up a stair rail, like, is that where we are now for success?
On the volume, it is. The volume doesn't have a dude. The volume does not have a staircase. You're not
Chris,
going anywhere.
now you get
That
the
we
tombstone
know
that
of.
says I'm a broken person and can't resist.
No, I'm saying they got the volume. It's like the Jeff Goldblum Jurassic Park thing. Like, they got the volume too early to know how to use it properly, and they need to just stop using it because they haven't elevated to the correct level of consciousness to get away with using the volume yet. They don't know what they're doing with it. It's bad most of the time.
Like, I can't wait. There's got to be a picture. It's much like how there's the infamous picture of like Lucas in '83 with all the models of Star Wars, and then like you have like the joke of like him in front of a blue screen in like 2004, and it's like, look what happened.
Not accurate at all, considering there was bigger and better models made for the prequel trilogy than the entire original trilogy.
Sure, but like, I like to
Whatever.
imagine at some point someone's gonna find like a picture of like Favreau in front of like the volume and be like, real sets, practical effects.
Yeah, there is that promo shot of Kathleen Kennedy, Favreau, Filoni sitting there in their directors folding chairs, and it was like a split scene on the volume. It's like it's cringe, man. It's like, here's us using a camera to film pictures of a projection of CGI models. Don't we all feel great about this? It's not weird at all. I don't know, but it's just like, there was a point where it literally bled into the blocking of scenes and like the choreography and stuff, and like that's where it comes. Like, if it's just Mandalorian, riding a dinosaur through a flat desert salt flat, you can get away with using the volume. But like, as soon as you have any like combat and choreography interaction with structures, like, it becomes very limiting, and I feel like it's obvious what they're doing. But anyways, I thought the fights in this were a little bit better than what we've been getting lately. But yeah, that's not, it's not a good excuse when you still see that real movies come out once in a while, like Furiosa, for example. That was a real movie. Few and far between.
Can we please segue into some before we get into Lego talk, can we please talk about Furiosa for a bit?
I don't know if Zenger and Joe will tolerate it, but I was.
Okay, I know what you guys are about to get into with this. Check out ZengThis. We'll be back eventually with stuff. It's been a pleasure, guys. I'll be on for the later reviews of this.
Good deal. Zenger hit an hour. His contractual obligation has ended.
It has.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's.
Did he really just? Okay, Chris, please keep this in because we want to keep these episodes like easy for you to edit. Zenger literally just dropped out of the call.
He's not actually gone, but I don't know. He might be gone.
Oh no,
yeah.
I'm still about to walk away,
Okay.
but yeah. I am out. Check out ZengThis or something. I don't know.
Good deal.
Zenger, are you going to back the Haslab of the Cantina on Mos Eisley? Couldn't even finish that without. Zenger's like, I'm going to be buying the Lego.
The Lego Mos Eisley. Why would I buy an inferior product?
But it comes with a brand new Greedo, man. Greedo, that character that does very little from 45 years ago.
He sometimes shoots Han, depends on what you're watching.
Anyways, I have the Lego one. There's no point in
Do
getting
you?
a far
The giant one?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How about that? Good for you, Zenger.
Yeah.
Zenger, you gotta get the UCS Star Destroyer so it can be hovering above it.
God, I wish.
That Lego set costs the same as a episode 1 liquid blue shirt, man. That's a flex.
Is that how we measure currency now in liquid blue t-shirts? That's the true like Mad Max Star Wars future. This is worth 3 liquid blues.
Yeah, a case of bullets or a liquid blue shirt. Yeah.
The liquid blue farm. Joe, if you want to bail, no one will blame. Hero Hans, before we let the rest of the class disperse, let's talk about Lego, aka the Haslab, because Joe is obviously there as a Star Wars toy fan. All right, Joe, so you can obviously go and sleep. what is your perspective on a $400 Cantina toy playset?
Well, it starts at $400, but if you want to complete it and get the other side, it's like $5.99, I think, to complete it.
Well, depends on just like if like for shipping, taxes, and this how many backers it gets.
Well, it's the deluxe version. You're going to get 2 different ones if you decide to do it. You get the base model, which only gives you one side. And then you get the other one, which gives you probably 3 other tables and a whole half of the other side of the cantina.
Yeah. For the record, I think the base model is a perfectly respectable choice. Because you got otherwise you got to like set aside a coffee table that you can walk around 360. But anyway,
I will say, I am looking at this, and I'm like, and you got to give credit where credit is due for like different like social media things like Yak Face. They're like researching the floor of the cantina and recommending different things you can do with it. Like if you have a legit space to display this properly, this thing's gonna be incredible. Like whereas like Fat Bib Fortuna is great, like meme level. Like I love it. Like again, like I it's fascinating to watch. If you can do the cantina right between just how many figures, characters are in this thing, positioning it all, it's there. Like it's a canvas. This is a $400 or $500? It's a fantastic canvas for a Star Wars fan. And that's where, like, even though when this thing first leaked, I laughed at it. Now that I actually have the full like promotional material in front of me, I'm infinitely more tempted on this. As a kid who watched that at age, 6, than I was ever in the Ghost or any other Haslab prior. With the, I don't know, I'm more tempted on this than I even am the Razor Crest. This is like, there's a level of just finally. Like it's a blank canvas, and I think that's where the imagination's allowed to play.
Yeah, well, Joe, I don't know if you thoroughly combed the promotional material for this or not really. Like, do you know all the figures that come with it and all that?
Depending on the backing of it, there's got like 5 or 6 figures that come with it.
Yeah. I think like the real statement is the like Tonica sisters, because like that's something
hell yeah
nerds have been asking for so long, and there was like rumors of like legal disputes between the actors and Lucasfilm, like when they were, and like one of the 2 actresses who is now dead like refused to sign over likeness rights or something and came after them like years after the fact. So like they sorted that all out, and like I mean. Those 2 carded look pretty cool. It's interesting. you gotta open it to display your cantina though. I don't know. It's a tough call.
But they already said that like just the packaging's exclusive with them. So like
okay. That is kind of wow. I mean, if they would have, I guess they would have had a lot of people screaming about that if they were exclusive. But I think that would have been the move.
I don't know. Okay, it depends. Like in the video, it says that the card back is exclusive. In the actual like text on like the page, it says that they're exclusive to this. I guess
know. No. If you think about it, no figure has actually been exclusive to a Haslab. It has there.
There's no way. Again, like even as going back to like MySpace days. Like I'm like as a teenager, like the idea of the Tonica sisters was always like it was up there with Jabba's sail barge as a playset. Like it was always the running joke, and this is like in the mid 2000s. It was like the Tonica sisters were the ultimate, just like, well, that'll be the day. Like the day they make the Tonica sisters, like it's over. Like 3 3/4,
yeah.
You finally there's no more horizons left.
Well, I remember like maybe like 3 years ago. One of the 3 3/4 collecting podcasts had the surviving one on for an interview, and she was like, "Yeah, whatever legal problems there was, it wasn't me. I would love to see those made."
Well, I think there's also the issue as well that like Joe and I have talked about this in real life. Is like what's going to happen like 15 years from now when most of your people who were involved with Star Wars 1977 are dead. Like I would imagine, like just to go for like the jugular of this argument, like the moment Jorge is deceased, Katie Lucas is going to be thrilled to sign the check that allows like the unaltered Star Wars to be released. Like the moment he's room temperature. And that goes for anybody involved with the original Star Wars. It's like there's going to be so much stuff, whether it be the original unaltered or just different character likenesses. Even Chris, like, oh God, Wolfman. The idea of Wolfman's going to be like a figure exclusive to this set. Like that alone, like the fact that Lucas hated that fact that they just like Rick Baker, like he took a Rick Baker like mask and just put it on some extra. Like this Haslab, I think the reason why it's exciting, not just simply because it's a blank canvas for Star Wars toy collectors, is just like it's like there's so many things that were considered forbidden fruit. You know, yes, we have had Wolfman before as a character, like as a toy.
I don't think it's the same. I think there's 2 Wolfmen in the Cantina, believe it or not.
But the point is that the fact that they're using this as a marketing element, it feels like something that, again, it's the forbidden fruit thing. Like if Lucas was still in charge of Star Wars, you wouldn't be allowed to have that. Like it'd be like,
there's one Wolfman is covered up in special edition, but the other one is still there. I think that's how it is.
But the fact that one is being put on spotlight is weirdly refreshing.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's good. I don't know if I just like you're saying, like you either display this at like 110 or it's like if you just put it on like a shelf on a bookcase or something, I don't know how awesome it is. I think you just got to go like full tilt or it's like
it's quite large too.
Sort of awkward.
The barge is nowhere like the barge is cool. Like you have to respect the barge, but
the cantina is quite large.
Oh,
it's modular, but it's quite large, and you got to have some serious real estate to put that thing on. Like you have to almost have a room.
Well, even if you have the half the base one, it's still like it's like 15 inches deep or something. It's like probably more than your average like shelf.
Yeah, you're gonna have to specially make something in order to display that properly.
But for anybody who's going to drop $500 on this or more, like there's not going to be a hesitation.
Yeah, yeah, and how about like the pictures of Woo-Her with like the rifle, like
that's beautiful.
Oh my god, so amazing. So he's got an old-timey like hunting rifle for some reason, which is I don't think that's in the movie. I don't know where the heck they got that from, but
Chris, every character needs a toy gun.
Yeah, but like an old-timey hunting gun.
But that's the thing, though. Is like we also live in the world where, like, think about it. Lucasfilm had to sign off on every aspect of this, and the fact that like that character like had like holding a gun as a promo shot is just funny. Like this, as much as this thing seemed like DOA when it was leaked, it feels like a home run. The more you look at the presentation of it, the marketing of it, like we laugh at Hasbro, but like occasionally they pull one up out of their sleeve.
Well, it's definitely one that's probably going to fund too.
Yeah, I'm going to check.
It's already halfway there. It's at oh God, as of recording this, we're at 3,888 on a goal of 8,000. And then once this thing gets to 8,000, I think it's sky's the limit.
I don't know about that. Their tiers, their like final tiers are like 17 or 20,000, aren't they? Like I don't see that happening.
Dude, Chris, you're tapped into this market more than I am. But the fact that like I'm looking at this and I'm weirdly tempted just for the sake, like even like think about the box, Chris. Like the box art alone, like even if you never display this thing the way that it's supposed to be displayed, the box alone will be fun to look at. Like if they would say for $100, you can have like a poster print of the box art, whatever I don't think it's been released or unveiled as of yet. That alone would be so cool. Just the idea of that. Like, I think this is like whereas Jabba's Sales Barge was like a weird, like thing that fans always complained about not having. This is kind of like, again, it's a legendary moment, not just in Star Wars, but in film history. Like there's so much more oomph to this. Like it's greater than the sum of its parts. And they did a pretty good job of including everything.
It really emphasizes the point that the Cantina band does not exist anywhere in the Cantina.
Well, that too.
Yeah, like it's like sure we use the floor plan, but like we shot those guys in the States as insert shots, and they just do not physically exist in this floor plan anywhere. So you just have to decide where they're going to be.
But even the entrances and you have the little hallways and the way that it's leveled up and everything like that, it's amazing. I'm not going to knock it for that, but dear God, it's you have to have some serious space in order to display it properly.
Oh yeah,
like saying.
and then think, like sure, it comes with like 5 figures or whatever, but like if you actually went down the list and like picked up everything that it needs, if you can, yeah. First of all, the price on the praying mantis wearing a dress, that's going to be skyrocketing. Right now, it's priced $70. They made that guy like once.
Joe, you hear that? You hear that, Joe? Get to work on 3D printing a praying mantis wearing a skirt. We gotta go to Joanne Fabrics on Monday.
That is a wild figure. He's got regular like legs off some other figure underneath the skirt because they're like, what are we going to design praying mantis legs for? You can't see it under the skirt anyway. So like the top half is a praying mantis, and then it's like regular guy legs and shoes underneath, like, and then like a tablecloth looking skirt. It's the weirdest figure ever. I don't know. Like I think it only came out once in like 2004, but like it's like what happened with the barge. Like all those are probably skyrocketing right now, and like you need like 60 of them if you're gonna like fill it out.
And really, Hasbro will not re-release any of those figures. They'll be very happy allowing eBay to like pick up the slack of it.
Well, they're not gonna make the praying mantis, dude. You can't get reuse out of those limbs, Yeah, it's not economical to make the praying mantis guy.
Come on, Joe, you heard that, right?
I know.
Like we have to go through the call sheet for the bar and just Joe, we'll do that as an investment. We'll take out a mortgage on one of our homes. We'll buy one of each of these figures and then scan them, and that's what we're gonna do. That's gonna be our business model until we get the cease and desist letter and our Etsy account gets shut down by Lucasfilm.
Yeah, when they give you that letter, you should be like, I think technically Rick Baker owns the copyright to this design. I did not put a character name. You should go
sue Rick Baker, Lucasfilm.
Just sidestep it.
Well, actually, I'm just making a half man, half praying mantis that happens to come with a skirt. Like, you don't have a copyright to a praying mantis, Lucasfilm. And I can put a skirt on my praying mantis if I want to. I don't know. See how that.
Don't assume the gender of my praying mantis, Lucasfilm.
It's not inherently a Star Wars character in any way.
And it's wearing loafers.
Well, that's the thing. You do whatever. You can just make it the skirt a solid block. You never see under it on this movie. You can't. Maybe you don't even see the skirt. You might just see the top of the praying mantis in the actual film. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, there was a point where a Weequay skiff guard was going for $100 because of the barge. It's like, the barge only cost $500, right? Like, what's going on with these figures? Crazy times.
Like I said, I think again they've weirdly. Again, like when this first got leaked, I was laughing at it, and then like the more you look at it, you have to just marvel. They seem to actually care. And then, like I said, like the Tanaka sisters is just like the icing on the cake. Like that's just, there's your holy grail. There's your hook for those who are true diehards. God, I'm looking at it's what, 17,000 backers for you to get Wolfman. Like that's what I mean. Like this thing, once it gets, again, it's already halfway there without even trying. And it's going to get there. Like, it's just, has there ever been a vintage collection Haslab that hasn't like surpassed all of its reach goals?
I don't think any have had a goal that has been that high though.
But do you really doubt it, Chris? Think again, you're the person that's tapped into the demographic that they're going after. Do you really, really think this thing's going to fall short?
Check this out. I just put in the chat on the messenger chat. This is a buddy I have in Georgia who basically already like had this built, like he's had it for years, and it's like what Zach's describing, like the 110%, like you have the outside of the building and like the full inside with all the figures, right? This is like a handmade version of this new Haslab that this guy's had for like years. And like,
okay, for the audience at home, I'm describing it like this thing's cute. I like it. It's very DIY homemade-esque. Like again, it's cool. I dig it. The person who builds this is going to 100% buy the actual real thing. 100%.
Yeah, I just don't think. I mean, I don't think it's going to look that much better than this setup.
I think looking at like, going between the marketing materials, and yes, they are marketing materials. They're meant to glamorize it, juxtaposed to this picture you posted of somebody making it themselves. I like, yes, like the cool part of it's like the case he built for it. There is an outside with the land speeder, the stormtroopers, the dewback. But 100%, like once this thing gets like produced and people start like playing with it, so to speak, it's like I said, sky's the limit. I think there's going to be so much envy for this thing after the fact, just based on, again, it being a blank canvas. Like think of like, let's pretend for a second that children still play with toys. Let's assume that. If you bought this for your kid, this would be like, in Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. This feels like if you have a kid that loves Star Wars, this is the equivalent of the G.I. Joe USS Flag. This feels like that level of like you could do realistically anything with this.
I would say probably more in line with like Castle Grayskull from He-Man. It's a playset.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Maybe not super legendary level, but
the flag even back in the day, the flag was very exclusive because if I didn't have a flag growing up. I wanted one. Not many people did, but that was like it was bragging right at school. Be like, yo, I got a USS flag.
Dude, I'm sure with the flag, for some parents, it was like, it's not that I can't afford it. It's just I don't want that damn thing around my house. Like, it takes up a whole room.
It's not like, practical to have a toy that big.
Yeah. There was one kid in my neighborhood when I was growing up that actually had the flag. And the thing was that he couldn't even figure out how to put it together. And he invited me over one day, and it took me like 3 hours to do it.
You need a foreman.
I know. I was after the Cobra Terror Dome, man, I was all set. I put that thing together in an hour.
Yeah. I think Zack, the Millennium Falcon outranks this. But
look at it this way, Chris. Sure, difference of opinions. The Cantina transcends Star Wars. It's an iconic cinematic moment. Like that doesn't making a 1-to-1 or a toy representation of that doesn't happen every day. Like I said, I could be wrong. Much like how we hear the stories of how Kevin Feige bought 3,000 like katanas just to sit there, just in case. You're gonna get a lot of people who are on the fence. Whereas Jabba's sail barge is niche, like relative to like the populace at large. The Star Wars bar, it's legendary. Again, it transcends Star Wars. It's part of the fabric of cinematic culture. Like I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Martin Scorsese has one of these. Like
I hear what you're saying, and you're right. You're right about the scene. I just don't think that this displays anywhere near as well as like the vehicle stuff. Like I think this is like you have to put your head inside this to see what's going on. It doesn't have shelf presence.
Well, you're looking at it from a toy collector, not as in like your weird like carpet bagging like person who buys movie toy stuff. Like that's what, again, I think it's different. I like much like, oh God, who's the character that's like the Enfant Mon from like Jabba's security detail from what oh God, what was it? The Saga Collection 2, where like it's like a giant wad of plastic and that character went through the roof. Like you said, like there's like 60 characters that have been produced as toys that should populate this thing. Again, it's weirdly a step, like as much as I cannot overstate this. I thought this was like an eye roll level, like, oh man, we're doing this. Like this is where we are. And you see the marketing materials and it's like, this thing's going to be so cool if you can do it correctly. And there's going to be so many people who are going to take a bite of that apple knowing very well they're not going to be able to finish it. Just simply because the temptation's there. And I may or may not be one of them.
Well, the other thing, too, is you look at The Mandalorian, they have a bar in it.
It's the same bar.
Yeah, you look at any Star Wars material that comes out, and they always have like a out-of-the-place bar that, it's marketable anyway.
The Mandalorian has like 5 bars, but yeah, that is one of them. Yeah.
But it's always very similar to the one that's on Mos Eisley.
Yeah, well, it's also like basically empty in The Mandalorian, which is like weird choice.
It's because they let droids start working there. That's the reason why.
Yeah.
but it does have a pull to it. But the thing is this: it's like Chris was saying. I'm going to have to agree with Chris. It's not a 1-to-1 Millennium Falcon, because I'll be honest with you, more stuff happens on the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars than it ever did in the Cantina.
But either the Millennium Falcon is iconic, it does not transcend Star Wars in just iconography. Like, keep in mind, like, okay, this is the example I use. Like, when I was a kid, 2001, back when they used to air these TV specials, AFI 100 Years, 100 Thrills. Like, and of course, the Star Wars is on the list. I forget where it is. I think it's like top 10. And like the moment they use to introduce Star Wars is bum 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 bum. Like it's the Cantina band. And like this, like again, Joe, you were there. Chris and I weren't. Like, think about the Richard Pryor skit of like him going to the Star Wars bar. Like, that is such an icon. And maybe if this would have been released 25 years ago, it would have sold 5 times as many. Forget about just technology where it was for toy making 25 years ago. I don't know. Like, this feels special in a way that a Star Wars toy has not felt special in a while.
It does feel special because people didn't have it. That's the one thing that they're missing from their collection. I totally get that. But the thing is that on my Star Wars bingo collecting card, it's not really high up there on there. It's, you know, when I was a little kid, I didn't want to sit there and play in a scene in the Cantina when I was playing with my Star Wars action figures. I was on Dagobah. I was on the Death Star, you know, stuff like that. Or I was putting people in ships to sit there and fight.
But that's the thing, though, is that they've already scratched that itch. And this, like, going back to like the Galaxy's Edge, whatchamacallit, the thing that Millennium Falcon that Chris likes to reference. Think about what people are going to do once they figured out how to do like the topography of the Cantina and how they're going to like create their own version. Like, think, Chris, the guy whose pictures you posted, once he buys this, what do you think his next version of this is going to be? Is creating the hangar the Millennium Falcon's in that's like 3 hangars over.
Yeah, he already has that.
Well, of course he does.
Yeah,
like,
but it's like, but he has it like 15 feet over in a different glass box table. So like he's not going to probably attach them, but
that's what I mean, though, is that like it's good to get the creative juices flowing in a way that very few other things can.
Dude, it's so funny. Like this guy literally just messaged me while we were talking, and he's like,
"Were his ears burning?
Don't you think this Haslab's overpriced?" And he sends me a picture of like the crappy like Mandalorian Navarro Cantina playset. And he's like, "This was $39 and was available at retail." I'm like, bro, that thing sucks. That thing is terrible. That thing is like a wall with like a tiny little window. Like, it's not iconic. It doesn't have like 5 figures coming with it. But but my point is, he's like, you know, he's like our age, a bit younger. Like, I don't think some people, like, I know you're saying that like this is like one of the most iconic scenes in cinema history. I think like a high percentage of people under 30 years old like do not understand that. And that's going to hinder this whole thing.
I don't think that's who they're catering to, though. Like, Chris, like the Gen Zs are going to, like, if Gen Zs care about like Star Wars toys and collecting, they're going to like give it a nod of respect. But no, they're not going to buy it. That's not their cup of tea.
It's for their parents.
It's for Grandpa.
Parents have the money to buy it. Grandpa has money to buy it. Grandpa just retired from his job. He's collected on his 401k. He's going to see it as an investment. Oh boy, this. When I die, I could will this to someone and they'll get a lot of money for it because I'll keep it in the box like I should have with all of my toys.
And also, too, we should not doubt the fact that this is also happening in the midst of Father's Day.
Exactly.
Not this again. Not like this is a weird instance of the cylinders firing on every side, like every single way. Like, it's just, you gotta give credit where credit is due. Whether this was orchestrated by Lucasfilm, Hasbro, or both, somebody earned their pay today. Somebody earned their bonus because of this. Like, and like I said, it's been announced for a couple days, and it's already halfway there. like I said, man, once that thing hits its goal, you're going to see the people just being like, again, they're going to buy one to open and one to keep in the box. Like I said, I can't wait to see the packaging for this. Like, I think we've talked about before, like the vintage collection, like Republic gunship that was released like in the early to mid 2010s. And I love how that looks. Like, I would buy that. Like Chris has always said, like, don't buy the new stuff, buy the old stuff that was done correctly before Disney ruined it all. That's something like that. Like, the packaging for this is going to be great. Like, I can just imagine it now.
It's going to be the first TVC box that depicts an X-ray roof.
There you go. Like, yes, yes, you're not wrong. And I love the idea of it.
Well, it's sort of design breaking in that way, I guess. But
sure, but like we'll allow them, like we'll cut that corner for them. They've earned it.
Now, do you think that they'll actually make a top for it though?
No, well, you won't even be able to see anything if they do that.
That's a stretch goal after it's reached 17,000 backers.
Complete it. That's the whole thing. Is so you could. It's a removable top, so you could sit there and look inside it.
I don't even know if it has a canonical roof. It might literally be like just a flat thing because you see the outside of it.
That's so easy to make that.
But it wouldn't look like anything then.
You could sit there and print off. It's look crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's guys who have already said like, there's a guy, I think his social media is called Cardboard Galaxy. He's like, I'm going to print out the floor for you guys the second we have some more dimensions. I'll just make the floor. I know you guys want floors, even though there's not even really a canon floor because there's two different floors that don't make sense in the cantina. But that's, you know, it's a long story. But basically, when you see Walrus Man's arm on the ground, it's a different floor than is in the set. But you know, normal stuff, normal Star Wars nerd stuff.
Hey, that guy right there is he knows what he's doing then. That's definite need.
Yeah.
People would buy that like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a cardboard floor, it needs to have the floor because you're going to be just looking at it from above because it doesn't look like anything from the side.
Would it be on the video games, you think, the floor? Or would...
Yeah, but it's going to be referencing like whatever set photography is around. Like they have it in Battlefront 2. I'm sure you can go in there and it's pretty good rendering that's like relatively accurate.
It's going to be something great. It's something that there's a lot of people that probably wanted it. I'm just not one of them, but
right.
You know, it's to each their own, but it looks good. I can actually, you know, it has the walkway where the droids went down in. It looked spot on from what I can see based off from what it was in the movie.
Yeah. I'm glad it exists, but I think it's going to be real difficult. Like Zach was saying, it's going to be real difficult to display for most people.
It's a museum piece, though. That's basically it. It belongs in a museum. It's almost like something that you would find at the Smithsonian. You know, you would sit there and be like, "Oh, well, this is what this looks like at the inside."
Yeah, exactly. You visited at the one guy in your extended friend group who does it right. You visited at his place like once every couple years.
You take a picture of it. Be like, "Oh, I see you got a new figure."
Yeah, exactly. That's how it's done.
Give me a pic.
Yeah.
Wrapping it up. All right. So conclude this episode of Star Wars Lego Talk with some Acolyte thrown in. Check out the Facebook group. Type Knights of Vader in the Facebook and you will find us there waiting for you. Harass Chris at KOV Podcast on the Instagram machine. If you like what you hear, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Spotify and or iTunes, however you consume this podcast. Thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. Check out the show notes to hear more from them. But when you are not too busy drinking that sweet, sweet electrolyte beverage, Chris, when you are maybe not ordering this Cantina Haslab, like we didn't really delve into that. Yeah, he's kind of on the fence. What are you up to when you're not inputting your credit card to the Hasbro?
I am going to just go back to the theater and see Furiosa 4 or 5 more times. So even though it won't make a dent in the amount of money George Miller has lost on the Memorial Day weekend, go see it. It's going to be out of theaters by the time you hear this, but you know, rent it online or something. And like, it's one of the last of its kind, man. It's one of the last crazy old man directors who's still doing it. You know, like this is an old timey movie. I don't know about this Anya Taylor-Joy. Like, I don't feel like they literally cut around every time they saw her mouth move. They cut away from her every time she says anything in this movie. She's basically not an actor in this movie, but like,
she has more presence in Dune 2 than she does in this.
Yeah, like she's either got her face covered or they cut away from her for her one line. I don't know what the deal with that is, but it somehow doesn't hinder the movie that much. It's an amazing movie. You should see it. Don't believe the internet trolls. They don't know what they're talking about. This is a George Miller stupidity fest. It's awesome. Go see it.
I love Furiosa, not as good as Fury Road, but still love it. Joe, when you are not watching Furiosa and contributing to the deficit in George Miller's fate against George Miller, what are you up to?
Version 2 is out, baby. Got the Titan sub version 2, higher detail. We're gonna enlarge that and make a toothbrush holder for one of the hosts.
Joe gave me a homework assignment. I have to pick out the filament I want him to use to make this. But
on Amazon.
For the audience at home, I am making a like White Star Line themed bathroom in my home, and I asked Joe, "Would you please make me a Titan sub toothbrush holder based off the pencil holder he made his wife that Cal Kestis occasionally rides?"
It's nothing if not tasteful.
You could tell that these are two different models, though. Well, this one is more accurate. So once I enlarge this, I'll be able to put holes in it so we could put a toothbrush. And I was actually thinking about this little centerpiece right there. I could hollow that out and you could put your toothpaste in that. And that would be amazing.
Game changer.
Do you guys know that there's a vintage officially licensed ceramic Rebel Snowspeeder toothbrush holder?
Really?
Weird.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah. Anyways.
Like I did not know that, but I'm pretty sure there's like probably a collecting book I bought like 25 years ago that definitely has like a weird like picture that's like the size of like a postage stamp of it in there because somebody thought it was a weird novelty.
Yeah.
I know 40 years ago my mother used to do ceramics and she actually got an R2D2 piggy bank.
I have the exact one, although it was painted by a different person, of course, but same mold. Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, bootleg ceramics. That's a whole Star Wars collecting thing we're
That was
definitely not going to talk about.
The New York thing, right, Chris? This like the bootleg ceramics.
Yeah, Joe knew about that. How about that, Zach? That's
Joe,
crazy.
if you were there back in 2022, you could have seen like all the nerds painting and making like Yoda like wear like Mets colors and been like, I know what that is.
Oh, that's I have a ceramic piece. It's half done though.
Advanced. We delved into the most obscure dark corner of vintage Star Wars collecting. Anyways, have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, but not goodbye. And as always, may the Force be with you.